and get the latest updates of what's going on in and around the Supra ecosystem. Unfortunately, we can tell you that Jon is extremely jet lagged after his lengthy travel back from New York City. So he is unable to make this call. But of course, we do have Josh with us. Josh, the CEO of Supra and co-founder. Josh, it's been a very busy week for you. Thanks for making it today.
Yeah, of course. It's especially these days really important to stay on top of communication with the community and everything. So yeah, happy to be here. Happy to dive into a lot of difficult questions in terms of the future roadmap and how are you going to turn things around, et cetera. This is there's never a dull day in crypto. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, there really isn't, and it's all part of the adventure, I guess. So we'll get into some of the points that you wanted to chat to a little bit later on. We also have a roadmap which we're going to run through, which I'm excited about. But Josh, just give us a quick breakdown on permissionless. Your keynote was received extremely well, not only by the audience, but by people in the community and the Web3 industry in general. I saw that you were interviewed at the New York Stock Exchange for finance.com. So it's been a very busy week. What was your general feel of permissionless, and what were some of the highlights?
Yeah, so permissionless is great. Actually, great event, great connections. It was really good to be back in New York City and in the States. I hadn't been back to New York City in I think it was 7 or 8 years. So it was great to be back. It's changed quite a bit. A lot of things are similar, of course. Yeah, I mean, New York Stock Exchange, I've never been inside there, so that was a great experience as well. Yeah, by and large, I mean, I did have a conversation with someone prominent in the industry, kind of after permissionless to discuss kind of what we're doing so you could understand the details. This is someone that you probably all know, right? And he thinks it's very interesting, especially when it comes to um, how we plan to mitigate toxic MEV and internalize and redistribute the good MEV. These things are only possible by vertically integrating the stack, right? So we have we have something that just no one else has done before, and this enables new things and new use cases. And of course, it has its challenges. It's a huge build. I mean, it's like 6 different protocols in one, more than that, and these are on the infrastructure layer. So it's a very very kind of worthy challenge for us, but we're making extremely good progress here, and uh, straightforward. I mean, I absolutely believe that the ideas that we're bringing forth here and what we're implementing is incredibly good for the industry, and we're real pioneers here. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to cover today, and I want to address a lot of things that to the best of my ability. But I would say, by and large, permissionless was a great experience, great event, great exposure to the U.S. market, and it's great to meet some folks I haven't seen in a while as well.
Just real quick before we get into the roadmap, I'd love to get your thoughts on the US market. With permissionless being such a key event, uh, do do you guys have any strategic goals that you're trying to achieve in the US for the next couple of years?
Yeah. U.S. is a important market. John and I are Americans, and well, either both of us or at least one of us will be moving back to the States pretty soon, and making sure that we're connected to the industry here, to institutions as well as maybe DC, right? So USA is, I mean, if you think about it, and I was speaking to another really prominent person in the industry. We are talking about how it's kind of strange how we've never had so many tailwinds. Tailwinds are like a good thing when you're flying an airplane, it pushes you so you can go faster. Headwinds, right, is kind of like wind in your face. So many good things from a regulatory clarity point of view, adoption, ETFs, stable coins, etc. And yet, he said in his words he hasn't quite seen a cycle like this though, where despite all this incredible news, the herd is coming, right? Like Mike Novogratz used to say back in 2018, 2019, they're here, right? And yet they seem to be only in primarily Bitcoin. So, typically, I've been in the industry since 2017, full time, and uh, you would expect it's just a bizarre market kind of reaction. We have like stocks at all time highs, and yet alts are not And there's usually more of a correlation, he was saying. And I was like, yeah, it is a bit odd. But no, I mean, by and large, I think uh, USA is probably one of the most important markets in the world. And, we made some good connections with folks that, um, run exchanges and such. But Supra is not an EVM chain right now. We're in testnet with that. So integrating with our, Supra Move, which is the language that was originally pioneered by Aptos, is a process because they only have one integration. And so that said, there's many conversations moving forward, and they happen. They've never really stopped. It's just things are taking some time, longer than I would have hoped for, of course. But at the same time, we have a lot of good things to look forward to in that regard. That there are going to be over time more activity and access to folks. So that is just so the community knows, we know this. We're on it, and uh, we we're having very good conversations. It's kind of a step by step process.
Now, as you said there, you do want to address a couple of points, a couple of questions that the community have had. So we'll get to those. But right now, as you talk about things that are taking time, let's run through the roadmap real quick. We have a deck here, and there's a few things that are in this roadmap that a lot of the community will be excited about. So let's go through the 6-month roadmap. Take us through what you're planning and how it's all going to unfold over the next couple of months.
Yeah, sure. So there's a lot we're doing. Supra is a high throughput layer one smart contract platform. We're already supporting more than one virtual machine. We have a built-in Oracle, cross-chain communications on public testnet. We have automation now in mainnet, right? This is very advanced blockchain, let's put it that way. And no one's quite done this before or seen this before. Moreover, we're working on, some of these innovations in consensus. It's not really here, but a hydrangea consensus is actually a really important breakthrough in the industry at large. And then also the work we do with, proof of efficient liquidity. These are ways to bridge assets to Supra with various kind of incentive models. There's a lot of smart contract work we do, as well as infrastructure. Of course, AI integration is a major kind of topic of ours. And like, even as an organization, we would like to be completely AI enabled to the maximum degree for productivity's sake, and so on and so forth. But also, as you all know, we have the Threshold AI Oracle product, right? The protocol that we already have an alpha working, and try to get that over, kind of expand the set to have more robustness and to really understand its limits. But hopefully we can get that out to public testnet pretty soon. It always goes devnet, testnet, mainnet, right? So it's a progression there. Well, for developer documentation, even, right? That is also meant to be AI enabled and supported, so you can kind of find everything you need really quickly for both in the command line as well as just documentation. Project Blastbox 2.0 is very close to being done. The system is not going to be kind of necessarily like an airdrop base. It's going to be more about dApps, and if those dApps want to do some sort of initiative, they can. But it's more about dApp discovery, and that'll launch soon enough. We have a lot of things that we're juggling here. So after some additional testing, I think we're good there. So, some of these things are going to testnet or mainnet now. Like, we just launched automation on mainnet, and that's the beginning of AutoFi. And, there's a lot to consider and to design in that space. Basically, we think that many of the existing DeFi protocols can be reimagined with automation. And we're bringing this to market, open sourcing them, creating tutorials, and trying to make this as easy as possible for just everyday users to actually engage in these kind of sophisticated tools. They're really powerful tools, and things that you can't necessarily get in a centralized exchange, and you can't necessarily get through any other blockchain. So yeah, that's kind of the roadmap for July. And of course, the months ahead also have different mixed matches of initiatives or things going to test in our mainnet. So yeah, EVM is working pretty smooth on one of our testnets, right? And it's public facing, so anyone can deploy. We're going to continue to work on speed, but it's pretty good, and it's it goes to show that, and I think everyone knows this, that the layer one can scale, and Ethereum, I think their execution limits are mostly about consensus and not about execution. The EVM can do a lot. The EVM can do tens of thousands of transactions per second, even though they're sequentially one after another. So other things work. There's a lot of cryptography. So cryptography work going on in the background for various initiatives, for security, for proving, for randomness, to even like multi-party computation things. MPC, not MCP, similar but different. But yeah, this in August is about launching the EVM on mainnet to the best of our ability. Of course, these timelines are contingent on many things. We won't have full composability between EVM and Move VM, but we'll have some ability to interact on the same infrastructure. Over time, we hope to have full composability, but that's a very kind of complex kind of build. Nonetheless, we wanted to get moving here. So improvements to the on-chain randomness, like zero latency randomness on-chain. Yes.
Yeah, we lost you for a second. Are you back? We lost the connection for a sec.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me right now?
Yep, we got you good now.
Okay. Yeah. No, I was saying that, Audify strategies, these are things that you can do on Supra using different price information, different Oracle information to craft a strategy. We're bringing technical indicators, we're bringing interest rate cuts, job reports type of data, and that can inform what you do with your wrapped assets. Now, we think Supra becomes an execution engine. Folks bring their assets to Supra to do some types of computation, aka strategies or execution on chain, you can't necessarily do elsewhere. And we actually had one of the winners of our hackathon at Permissionless. He naturally did this without even speaking to us. He brought an asset from another chain. I think he used BNB in that example. Did some automation execution on Supra because he couldn't do it elsewhere. And then after that transaction was then automated back to BNB. So really interesting world we move into here. And what we're going to do as an organization is build these, initial set of strategies just as templates, completely open source, and make tutorials and give folks a basis in which to get going. So automation can do very simple things to very complex things, so it depends on what you're trying to achieve. And the more automation tasks you are required to achieve it, the more super gas you're going to have to pay. That's just the way it is. So that's moving forward. Our automation V2, I do want to mention, helps us basically scale our existing automation service by like approximately 10x, right? And we'll try to see if we can go even further than that. So I do think what's going to happen is over time, as this stack matures, most of the on-chain transactions are probably going to be AI crafted automations that are checked for every single block. That's just kind of my hypothesis. We also want to roll out our decentralized treasury, right? So a decentralized treasury, which is going to be network owned, right? So that's good and all, and basically decentralized treasury as a public good is cool, but how does it generate revenue in the first place? Well, the foundation will seed it with something, but really the sustainability is going to be coming from basically value capture through what we call good MEV. So things like arbitrage and liquidations. Why is that? How could there be something that's good for MEV or MEV that is good for the DeFi? It's timely liquidations, right? That's good for solvency of protocols, and this can kind of prevent cascading failures, right? If you have solvency in DeFi, it's very important. And then also arbitrage, they're kind of just neutral. They're not good and they're not bad. It's just about finding the market price, right? And more or less, if there's anything that remember, community goes first, right? Their automations go first and the regular transactions. Then at the end, though, if there's anything that's missing, the Supra automation treasury can capture it, by taking a flash loan from the treasury, paying it back in the same transaction, capturing the difference as profit, and then redistribute that in real time to stakeholders. That's node operators. That's the DApp where it came from. And it's the treasury itself, which represents the kind of public good of everyone, right? Of the system. When I say everyone, I'm specifically talking to stakeholders of Supra. right? And uh, where can this lead? Over time, the Treasury can algorithmically deploy liquidity into dApps that are vetted and approved by the community. So it could be a lending protocol, it could be a DeFi protocol. Imagine like the network good providing the service, aka will help you have deeper books algorithmically. Once you're kind of pre-approved, will help you have a chance to launch. Will give you the some the liquidity to just help you create a market, right? Now, what's interesting about this is the decentralized treasury is still geared towards the network's public good. So it does actually intend to earn a safely an ROI. So doing these services are still fee generating, right? Providing liquidity to dexes and lending protocols. If your assets are lent out, the treasury, they're still earning fees. But what's really interesting is that the treasury doesn't have to um, like keep all that fee. It can maybe lend out its assets cheaper than any other party, because instead of peer to peer, which might be a mixture of kind of mercenary capital, so to speak, the treasury can act actually purely as a missionary kind of source of capital, and with a feedback loop, we could see, okay, it's safe, and the assets is generating a sustainable, reasonable ROI. Let's keep the liquidity there, or let's increase it, or it could also withdraw it. You know, so where we're moving towards this idea of an algorithmic treasury, it would be really best if this whole thing could just do this stuff algorithmically with the safety guarantees it needs, instead of having human intervention. So that's where I believe we're going to be moving towards. This is a really big deal. This is a system that will have governance, but also ultimately it's run by you know um, a transparent, deterministic rules that are geared towards public benefit, instead of mercenary capital, for example. We think this gives Supra a competitive edge. Once we get this going, this will become a huge competitive edge. Like, why I think what's happening when we launch this, people are going to say, when asked why Supra, it's because the system allows you to kind of have a chance to be showcased, so to speak. Over time, I hope that this thing can, you dox your team, you finish your audits, the community votes, that this is eligible for this program, and then the treasury just immediately goes small amount first, very small over long periods of time, slowly increases it, but provides like liquidity as a service. So that's why they might choose Supra over others. That's what I mean by becoming a competitive advantage. So this is why it's so important. This is why I'm spending so much time on that. Because it's I mean, the value capture from automation through auto arbitrage, auto liquidations, the auction model. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, just take a look at the permission presentation. Um, the revenue drivers. These are what's really interesting is there's two ways to make a blockchain sustainable. Basically, one is to have 1 million transactions per second constantly and charging two tenths of a penny per transaction. That's cool, and we all want to do that, right? That's kind of like what the Solana folks have been saying, or they're saying on my panel with them in permissionless. And the thing is, for this MEV, there's $1 billion already being leaked from blockchains today at 20,000 transactions per second across the industry, right? 20,000 transactions per second across the entire industry is generating over $1 billion of value that's being taken out of blockchains through MEV, aka MEV capture, prevention for the bad stuff, capture the good stuff. Uh, as a revenue model, doesn't require us to have 1 million transactions per second constantly to actually have very, very compelling um, revenue capture and treasury building activities. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm personally very convinced that what we're doing is not only revolutionary on a computer science point of view, but also from a economic engine point of view. I think this is really remarkable. Of course, it's not all live yet. You have to get, layer one. You need Oracle. You need cross-chain communication. Great. Those you need automation. You need those. That's already really big. But then you also basically have to have a system that can execute on its own, in a way that can capture value that is not otherwise captured by layer ones. So I'll keep on going here just to kind of keep this moving forward. I know, Gene, I'm talking a lot here, but it's just so much to cover. And,
No, it's great,
I
man.
think,
It's great.
okay, cool. Yeah, I feel like, if anyone's accusing us of not working hard enough, well, everything you're seeing on the screen has actually been in motion for years. So it's not like we're just doing this right now. Some things are new, like any AI initiatives and the focus we put towards that is new, and it's we're going to invest in that, and we have to. So, for example, for AutoPi, having an AI assisted strategy builder that can help you craft it and then back test it before you on existing Oracle data before you deploy it in mainnet and pay for it. We want to make this no code, right? It's straight up about your concept and what you're trying to do, and who knows, like strategies will emerge that are highly effective, and then what's going to happen, I think, is folks will just pool it with those strategies, so to speak, in a kind of decentralized manner, and follow the strategy, either fork it themselves or pull it together. So yeah, Starkey app is also moving into improvements. Um, I got the report that they're going to be integrating NFTs, cross-chain communication like Bridge, as well as um, fiat on ramp. So these are underway, so folks can access Supra through fiat. So that's a process here. And then, of course, moving into September, we have other things that we've discussed that are going to start to move to mainnet, right? So we talked about Threshold AI Oracle. We hope that we can get that on mainnet safely. It'll probably be somewhat centralized, meaning the node operators running that are going to be like known, and they're not going to be shifting or rotating just yet. They'll have to expose what models are running, LLMs and such, and we'll make that completely transparent for everyone to understand. The thing is, it's really exciting. Threshold AI Oracle, Tau, right, is allows blockchains to do really interesting things over time. The Tau can be reasoning around strategy, and then following back with strategy advice, as well in real time. So once we talk about automation V2, that is 10xing the capacity of automation. That should be on mainnet by then. Super STM parallel execution. We have great research on this, and we have existing prototypes and such. It's just not super necessary unless you start to approach, like, say 1,000 transactions per second, right? Parallel execution, you don't really feel it. Remember the end-to-end experience from send a transaction to get a response. 80% of that is like data dissemination and consensus. Only execution is 20%. 20% of the end-to-end journey is only execution. So you want to focus on data dissemination and consensus first as the biggest bang for your buck, and then also optimize that last 20%, which we do, and we're moving towards. And Super STM is our kind of work in parallel execution. Dynamic function market maker. This is a new type of DEX that is cross-chain DEX. That's an efficient cross-chain DEX that can also leverage Oracle data for additional feedback. So this is already under development as well. So when we say that Supra is doing DeFi as well from the infrastructure layer, that includes, as I mentioned, the decentralized treasury. That's it's basically an auto vault that includes the proof of efficient liquidity protocol, like, as well as the dynamic function market maker. These things are primarily DApp level, like smart contract level things, and we do work on that as kind of key network primitives. Ultimately, the final goal is for automation is to make this not just like pay per use, but instead it should be auctioned off. Basically, if you have an opportunity that's worth a lot, you should pay more for it if you want to have the priority to execute it. This allows us to decouple from microtransaction fees as a business model, and instead these auction, if you have a position, maybe there's like a huge position that's worth $30,000 for you, right? You eventually, through an auction model, you probably get to like they actually call it like a second winner bidding auction. Like, it's just an interesting auction theory out there. But first or second place will get the priority, and if that opportunity is worth $30,000, you probably would bid up to $29,000, you're still making $1,000. Remember, this is like when it triggers, it happens in a split second, right? So while the network actually for it to trigger maybe only cost 50 cents across like monitoring the automation for a long time, then actually triggering the transaction might have been less than 1 cent. You know what I mean? So that is not a great business model versus 29,000 for this execution of this opportunity. And it's very similar to ad networks. So Google Ads and Meta, they're like Meta's like 98% powered by like ads, their ad network. Meta, Google is around, I think, over 80%. And these are powered by an auction model. And why does it work? Well, an auction model allows folks to pay whatever they want as long as it's worth it for them, you know? And there's a limited amount of eyeballs to Meta and Google. And also in a similar manner, on Supra, there's a limited amount of execution capacity, and priority of those executions are things that are quite valuable. So we are excited to roll this out, hopefully in September, where anyone can vote on or basically auction these execution priorities to make sure that if an opportunity comes up, they're the one that captures it. Yeah, and then there's more. I mean, there's October. Okay, yeah. So automation V3, like you can see, this we're really focused on automation among other things, but at V3 we hope we can start to service other chains, but also by having off-chain automation, it does allow Supra to do other things, like more sophisticated. You don't have the same guarantees as on-chain automation, but you can do a lot of interesting things, including various forms of verifiable compute. So that will be coming. As I mentioned, the toxic MEV prevention. Those things include randomized execution, localized fee markets, and encryption decryption. And we have very good designs there as well. So it's just a matter of implementing. That's a mixture of infrastructure changes as well as cryptography. So by this period, we project that dynamic function market maker should be on mainnet. That is the cross-chain DEX that is designed to be, instead of a constant function or automatic market maker, this is a dynamic function market maker. We think that there can be, especially in a cross-chain setting, the belief is there can be a lot of, basically Supra becomes an enshrined cross-chain DEX, and we actually think we can get to a point where if you have a native asset on one of the chains, and you want to translate it to multiple different other assets on their respective chains, even just one-to-one, we actually think you will be able to do this faster on Supra for native asset settlement, starting with like ETH, and then you want to get into like Sui and Aptos, through Supra. We actually think we can handle that with great execution quality, meaning you don't have, ideally less slippage and less impermanent loss. That's a big part of this, but also faster than you could do it through a centralized exchange. So we think that if that has that use case, we can actually help you get your native assets from one chain converted and then native assets on the respective chains faster than you can even do in centralized exchange. That is that's very compelling. And along the way, of course, is fee generating. Supra containers. I guess I'll just mention it that we have Supra containers. We have a new idea that we're kind of flirting with called Supra chain containers. These are actually like micro chains on Supra. I know that y'all heard me talk about not liking breaking composability and thus not liking these layer 2s and subnets, etc. experiences. And I generally don't, because I do like composability. I like shared liquidity, shared security, etc. Supra containers on the layer 1 that'll still have that those characteristics, but Supra chain containers. I mean, I'm just going to tell you guys, we're already working on this. It's like a microcosm of Supra itself. It's like a 7-node network. Maybe 5 is fine even, but probably 7. And the folks that launch these can set their own parameters. It's running our algorithms. It's running parallel execution, has access to Oracle automation, etc. But it's actually it's a different type of chain that is suitable for extremely high performance use cases. So perp dexes and GameFi, where you need low latency. You need it to be very fast. So 7-node network running our algorithms, especially if they're kind of co-located across regions, like not so far, like Supra's network, if you look at it, it's decentralized, it's larger than it needs to be. I have to talk about that in a second. Um, I said it's larger than it needs to be for where we're at today. Let's put it that way. We do want it to grow to be hundreds and hundreds of nodes, if not thousands, right? But I'll come back to that actually after this roadmap kind of conversation. But I am telling and leaking alpha right now that we have this idea of Supra chain containers where you can have your own token governance and rules. What's interesting about this, though, is what we're thinking is you execute in the Supra chain container first with this super low latency experience because you have basically introduced centralization, right? However, how do you maintain security? You basically post maybe your blocks are created between 70 to 100 milliseconds. But remember, Supra is being optimized on our larger network to process things, 300 milliseconds blocks, right? So, but still 300 milliseconds to 100 milliseconds from a UX point of view, if you're playing like, Counter-Strike or some game, like that's a huge difference, right? So the high throughput and low latency use cases, that includes centralized trading experience on a cryptex or a GameFi, right? What's interesting is they execute in their Supra chain container, post their blocks to Supra's layer one as if it's a batch of transactions, and then Supra layer one has a mirror, like those smart contracts exist on Supra layer one, and Supra layer one executes it also. It's just like half a second later, So the idea is you still, and all the assets will stay on Supra layer one, but the activity is kind of like happening in the future slightly by like 200, 300 milliseconds, right? And for that specific use case, this is our answers to the Mega ETH and Rise, kind of approaches and the hyperliquids as well. We can enable this. What's really cool though is that Supra Trail executes afterwards. The assets stay on Supra, and the smart contracts on the Supra chain container are mirrored on Supra. And then actually, what this gives us is layer one security. So this is what we're working towards. So you still have this, you get the benefits of centralization, but you also get the benefits of decentralized security. It just happens to finalize maybe, let's just call it a couple seconds later. By the time you open and close your wallet, it should be done to go from back to layer one itself. So that's there's a lot of conversations and work going on this as well. Maybe we can move on to November.
Just a real quick question before we move on to November. Really excited to hear about Solana VM testnet. Do you think that Supra BDs will be focused on bringing and attracting Solana devs into the ecosystem? Is that a sort of strategic timing as well? Because all of things like automation, AutoFi, SupraNova will be a lot more solid and sturdy. So those Solana devs would actually be able to tinker with them a lot more. I mean, is that a sort of strategic timing for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, we're actually not really trying to time it. We're just trying to get it out there as soon as we can. And as you can see, there's a lot to cover. But we've been experimenting and understand the Solana VM for quite some time. We actually have some novel parallel execution strategies of which we think should outperform sea level, right? So sea level is Solana's parallel execution approach. And yeah, I mean, more or less, once again, our general philosophy is that blockchains are these decentralized compute platforms and they're agnostic to the language. And if we can actually have these virtual machines communicate with each other in a composable manner instead of like just, I mean, even if it's not composable, it's still fast, but composable is like where the magic kind of happens, in my point of view. We'll work towards that. So we'll start with limited composability across Ethereum, MoveVM, EVM, Solana VM, and then with tighter integration over time. So the timing of it isn't specifically like specific to targeting, like devs, but it's just like we wanted to do this ASAP. We really admire the developers from each of these communities. They have their own kind of characteristics and grit. And yeah, so we we're excited about that.
Awesome, man. And then, of course, coming up in November is multi-VM extended composability. So there's a lot of opportunity for all kinds of Web3 devs who have experience across a whole bunch of different languages and virtual machines as well.
Yep. And then, as you kind of mentioned, James, to have access to the tools that we offer, SupraNova, um, the even our consensus algorithm, from moonshot to hydrangea, who knows, like exactly, we're going to be running all the tests, and we just let the best performing system win, right? But even beyond speed is, like capabilities, automation, Oracle access, to run these strategies. I think that's, like, if my general point of view is that all of the blockchains, we're all going to be fast. Okay, fine, cool. Being 10 milliseconds different doesn't really matter. But what can I do on your blockchain that I can't do elsewhere? That's what's going to matter. This is why, I think Supra is really misunderstood by the industry at large. And that's a good sign in many regards. Hopefully that changes as soon as possible. But it's a good sign because it's doing something that hasn't really been done before, but it's very obvious,
Yeah.
and that's a good sign. The this schedule here, like November, December, I want to be clear that Supra does have multiple agendas moving forward. A lot of AI things are related to user experience, developer experience, so that has to happen. The automation is core for us to get the decentralized treasury moving to capture, and then to capture this good MEV and redistribute it. These things take time, right? And some of these on this calendar and the roadmap might not be 100% accurate, but by and large, this is where we're headed. And this is, I hope everyone can appreciate, is a very, very big build. But we've done a lot already. I would say we're more than probably on the order of like 65% of the journey there. To a large degree.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the core one of the entire infrastructure. Optimizations, future updates are meant to always happen, right? But I think what Supra as a platform at that stage, though, by the end of this year, it actually looks like a computer, and a smart computer.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wow, so much coming up. And then, of course, a lot of what is being tested and strenuously put through its paces all goes to mainnet, hopefully towards the end of the year. Really exciting, man. There's a lot going on, and 2025 has certainly been so far a year of extreme engineering, and incredible novel tech coming out that hasn't been seen in the blockchain space before. So I'm sure that there's a lot of excitement bubbling after the many conversations that you've had in the States recently. Josh, a couple of things that you wanted to touch on earlier on in the call. So I'll give you an opportunity to run through some of the thoughts in your mind at the moment.
Yeah. So the main one is the health of the network right now, right? So that touches token economics and token price and all that stuff. I usually don't like to talk about this topic, but I've been advised to be careful about that. But now it's getting to a point where we have to absolutely talk about this. So don't be surprised, community, if we kind of work with node operators, kind of, perhaps offboard some of the lower performers and also delegate, be more strict with the delegation program. We may actually get the network down to, for this stage, maybe around 121 nodes. We're at like 180 right now, but we're probably going to adjust the network. This is on par with a lot of the other, Sui Aptoses and Says and stuff like this, right? We do want, I guess we demonstrated that we can run the network at a higher threshold than what most of other chains are doing, also having good performance. What I mean by that is direct acyclic graphs, DAGs, they don't really perform well beyond 150 nodes. We know this empirically. So we know that anyone who's running a DAG, right, are very likely not to expand the network beyond 150 nodes. The data looks like this. It looks great, and then boom, it skyrockets in terms of latency, right? And so we have demonstrated that what we're doing is scalable, but for where we're at today, do we need this many nodes? The answer is no, I don't think so. I think what people care about right now is more speed. Decentralized enough, I think, is kind of the game right now. Um, I do think scaling to hundreds of nodes, if not more, is necessary though. As we get bigger, we should support more nodes, right? So given our kind of market cap today, we need to, I think, really have a strong discussion about making network size smaller. It should be more sustainable this way. Um, yeah, there's a lot of things in that regard. I mean, let's put it this way: a lot of focus is put on economics right now, and what are we allowed to do, and what can we do, and really, what's going to happen is community is going to have to get involved and decide, right? So we're putting this, brainstorming many things right now, and we'll put it to the global community vote. Maybe it's going to have to be mostly node operators and dApps on Supra, or large token holders. But we have, I think, there's like over 700,000 accounts on StarKey wallet. We have KYC 512,000 people, and we have thousands of backers, right? So it's hard to get every single person involved. So I think we have to do the initial super governance, community governance kind of discussion among node operators and the dApps on Supra for now, and then they should represent the community at large, their interests, but more or less the health of the chain is the number one priority. So we're doing things to cut costs in any way we can. Don't be shocked if you see 179 and it goes down to like 121. This is a phased approach. Probably like if we do it, it's probably like 12 per day, for the next week. So just keep that in mind. So there's a question: how does a L1 copy perplex if there's need, if there's a need for any sort of copy? Well, the nice thing about perps are that they are Oracle data driven, right? You don't need the underlying asset, so it's completely Oracle driven, right? And like for example, Hyperliquid, the best perp out there is layer one with some people joke that it's a layer three because it bridges from Arbitrum. Anyways, that's besides the point. It's a layer one with Oracle, right? And they have a bridge through, I think, layer zero. Well, that's kind of starting to look like Supra. Layer one with Oracle cross-chain communication, and the thing that we have that no one else has is automation. Now, how can Supra hit 70 millisecond block times? You can't on hundreds of nodes, right? Speed of light limitations, literally physically impossible type of thing. Well, could you do that in 7 nodes as a super chain container? Yeah, like that's what we seek to prove. And that super chain container would be a replica of the mainnet, more or less, right? That has layer one smart contracts, Oracle, right? Perps are completely built on Oracle, and automation is, I think, can enhance user experience here. So yeah, no, I expect this, and actually, we are very likely to collaborate with someone to bring this to the community.
Yeah, and that question came through from CryptoNut, so thank you, CryptoNut, for that. Super Daddy says that he's looking forward to StarKey updates. I believe that you have spoken about the StarKey updates on the way. Is there sort of an idea of when people can expect to see NFTs in their StarKey wallet as well?
Yeah, I mean, it must be close. I'll have to check with the team directly, but I have seen prototypes of this like a while ago, like over a month and a half ago. So it should be very soon. I know that they were exploring some very interesting things with the mobile wallet to display NFTs. So that is something that I think is interesting. So it's not just like, yeah, anyways, there's something, I don't want to spill the beans, but they're working on that as well.
All right. And then a couple of people have said that, you're sounding a little under the weather. So a couple of people have wished you well here, Josh. And take it easy. I know that you are literally getting like the minimum amount of sleep that a human being needs to stay alive. So the community here are wishing you well, man. Just going through all of the chats here. And I think we're good for questions. There was one more. Any final comments? If I see any other, okay, here it was. CryptoNut again just wanted to know, in terms of the Citadel, is there any news on projects that are going to be launching on Citadel soon? When can that be expected?
Yeah. So no, this should be the team's been working on this, kind of collecting material for their campaign. Like they're going to have to make a video and such. There are at least three, I believe, that are likely to be the first one to go in Project Blast Off and Common Fund. There and then kind of as these other projects mature, they'll kind of sequentially go. The first one, we are trying to get this out within a month, and help them with their first campaign.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting to see that. So keep an eye out on the Citadel. Obviously, our Supra ecosystem X profile as well, because there is where we announce all of the news that our ecosystem projects are working on, the big campaigns that they're running. So make sure that you are following the Supra ecosystem account. Josh, thank you so much, man. This has been amazing. So much going on as usual. I know that there's a lot that you guys are working on in the back end as well, in terms of just addressing some of those concerns that you've addressed really well here. So we want to wish you all the best, and hope that you do get some rest. Any final comments before we wrap up this week's community call?
Yeah, I would say, it is challenging. I'm not going to lie. It's very difficult, but this me kind of, yeah, I am not sleeping the most I ever have, right? And that's fine because actually I feel pretty good and excited because it's a challenge that we're rising to the challenge for basically. There's a lot to do here, and I hope that folks can understand that what we're ultimately going to be doing here is making this more and more and more community based, like in terms of voting and decision making. And the first iteration of this might just be node operators and dApps. And then the next one, we'd like to actually have a governance structure in place where it's not quite a plutocracy, where the amount of tokens you have, you know, um, is your way to vote. Instead, we want to have some sort of reputation system where folks have been contributing. There are folks that have been, very, very good at creating value and, kind of dealing with FUD, and there's a lot of FUD, as well as just being leaders in the space. And over time, we have to, and we intend to kind of figure out how to attribute that value to your reputation so that your voice matters more in the decentralized governance vote, but in a fair and transparent manner, in a way that is verifiable that you have contributed a lot of value to the system, right? So I know that governance isn't the most interesting topic for most folks, but it's very important. And ultimately, governance will control the treasury, by the way, right? So we need this. This is the way to do kind of this decentralized algorithmic treasury, is to have a governance system that is managed by folks that have proven their contributions and value over time. It should be very difficult to accrue value and reputation in this regard. So it's not just about how many tokens you have, but this whole system that I'm describing is going to take some time to implement. It's just kind of directionally where we want to go. Yeah, I mean, what else? Just know that we are going to have to make some drastic moves, and please be around to engage in conversation about network size and plans. And I try to be as transparent as possible in terms of what we're building internally for the community in the next 6 months, outlining kind of pretty detailed of what we're doing. And but there are other things that we're doing that are meant to alleviate kind of some of the pressures and to ultimately for network health, right? Network health as well as community health is network health also. Let's put it that way. So yeah, just stay tuned. We're going to continue to put more material out there, but this is going to be a busy week, next few weeks for Supra, and next
Amazing.
six
Yeah,
months.
Yeah, well, next 6 months, but the next week is going to be very interesting indeed, and looking forward to hearing and seeing all those updates. Josh, we really appreciate all the updates that you give us, not only here on these community calls that we do every month, but also what you're putting out on X. You're really engaging with the community, and I know as someone in the marketing team, seeing how the community responds to that, it means a lot to them. So thank you, man, and keep that up. Josh, thank you. Another community
Yep.
call wraps up. Folks, thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you next month for the July community call. Join us on the SUP this coming Wednesday. It's going to be our last Wednesday edition. We're back. We're going to Thursdays from next week because we have some webinars rolling out. So join us then. We're going to be chatting to SupraLend. Myself, Chase, and SupraLend going to be on the SUP this Wednesday. And we'll catch you guys then. Until the next time, stay safe. SUP, everyone. Cheers.